Imagine soothing your anxiety in just 10 minutes and learning about a technique to actually overcome your anxiety completely. That's what you're about to experience. Today we're diving into Nicholas's comment, and in my reply to him, you'll discover 6 anxiety soothing insights. And the 7th one that I'm going to share is a technique and strategy with which you can overcome anxiety completely. So let's start with Nicholas's story. I just had to do a presentation in front of my work division for about 100 people, and I was in front of everyone shaking in my legs, my voice, and my hands, trying to power through, and it really sucks because I have to see these people on a daily basis. Nicholas, first of all, my respect to you, because that's a very challenging thing to do. I remember when I was 15 in school, I had to do a presentation and I dreaded it so much. I actually ended up crying to my mom, begging her to let me pass and not go to school. But I was forced to do it, and really was scary. Went all right, but it was a really scary thing to do. And when I read your comment, I had a whole bunch of insights that I think will help you. So I'll get into these now. 1. Anxiety happens for a reason, and it's not your fault. Now, when you're standing in front of all these people and your heart is racing, you get a lump in your throat, and the anxiety is there, that's there for a reason. It's because your brain is seeing this as a threatening scenario. Maybe you lose your reputation, maybe you'll end up as a failure, maybe they'll laugh at you, and so on and so forth. And because of that perception of threat, that's why the anxiety is there. Now, that perception of threat is made up out of a bunch of beliefs, such as people don't like me, I'm no good, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, and so on and so forth. And these beliefs are learned. You pick them up somewhere, and usually in early childhood. It's a result of the repetitive negative experiences in early childhood. For example, critical parents, or parents with high expectations, or trauma of some sorts. But basically you picked it up, and now this is what you're dealing with. Now, if you could consciously stop the anxiety just by forcing or coercing or fighting it somehow, wouldn't you believe that you had been able to do that already by now? Right? So you do not have control over it in that moment. In that moment, it's just happening. And so this is the situation that you're dealing with. This is where you're at. These are the cards that you've been dealt. And so if you start beating yourself up about that and you start judging yourself, now you're just depleting your self-esteem. So it's not your fault. It's just the result of the circumstances and the programming that you've had growing up. And now you're dealing with this issue. And you're doing the best you can, and you are still getting anxious. Okay, so what you want to do instead is you want to be compassionate towards yourself. That's important, because self-compassion will repair some of your self-esteem, and it will help you the next time you go into a public speaking situation. 2, anxiety doesn't define your value. Now, a lot of people define their worth by how well they perform. If I perform really well, then I'm a very valuable person. If I don't perform well, then I have no value. I'm a loser, I'm pathetic, I'm weak. That is leading to a lot of anxiety. So stop doing that. Easier said than done, but we'll get to that in a second. You want to recognize the fact that you as a person have inherent value, and experiencing anxiety doesn't mean that you have no value. And you want to unlink the association between anxiety and your value. You are a valuable person whether you feel calm or whether you feel anxious. 3, it's very common to get anxious. Now, studies have shown that 77% of the population has anxiety when they're speaking publicly. So a lot of people in the audience, if they even saw what you were dealing with, were probably feeling compassion for you, or they thought, wow, this guy has balls, I'd be scared in his position too. 4, maybe they saw it, perhaps they didn't see your anxiety at all. Now, we hugely exaggerate in our minds the visibility of our anxiety symptoms. To us, it feels like, oh my God, my heart is pounding out of my chest. They can see it. They see that my face is frozen. They see me shaking. But to a lot of people on the outside, they actually don't see it. Here's an interesting thing. In our Social Confidence Club, we do live coaching every Sunday. And so we've got a whole bunch of people with social anxiety that are following along with the coaching. And I'll work with a volunteer, and we'll be doing tapping. And that person might blush, and they say, uh-oh, I'm blushing right now. And even though I have a whole screen full of people with social anxiety, and I say, okay, guys, be honest, don't try to be nice, genuinely answer this. If you can see the blushing right now, raise your hand. And none of the hands go up. And me, as a former blusher, trained to see it, and all of the people that are super sensitive can't even see it. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes you do have visible anxiety, but just to point out, we massively exaggerate it in our minds. 5, it's only a big deal to you. They don't care. Now, while it's a big event in your mind, you're actually not that relevant in other people's lives. You know, they are busy with their challenges and their responsibilities and what's going on in their life. And your failures or your challenges are not that important to you. And people tend to forget about them real quick. They don't go to bed thinking, oh, Nicholas, oh my God, yeah, let me just review how much he sucked today. Yeah, oh, I need to wake up the next day. Oh, Nicholas, oh, can't wait to run into him because he failed so much. You're not that relevant. 6, one event does not define your reputation. Now, your reputation is typically determined over a longer period of time. And one event is just one of the many events in the longer in the longer period of people knowing you. Now, if there are a whole bunch of people in the crowd that you do not know, and this is the only thing that they know about you, yes, then indeed, that's your reputation to them. But who cares? Okay, this is in your mind. You are making it something much bigger than it really is, and you can alter and change that, which is what we'll get to in a second. Now, if you are consistently public speaking and every time you're getting super nervous and it would indeed be noticeable to people and you underperform, yeah, then you might indeed get the label that you're not a confident public speaker. That's possible. However, that doesn't define your worth as a human being, as we've gone over before. You can still be a great employee and just not be good at public speaking. You can still be a great friend or an interesting person and so on, and just not be a great public speaker. And how you respond to that situation says a lot more about your character and your resulting reputation than the actual public speaking event itself. You know, if you go sulking, be ashamed of yourself, want to hide your face, can't look people in the eyes, and deplete your self-esteem as a result of that experience, that's very different than when you own the fact that this is a struggle for you, you are compassionate towards yourself, and you take the action necessary in order to improve next time. So in other words, respect yourself despite the difficult scenario, and other people will be more likely to respect you also. So keep your chin up, you know? You face the fear that most people never ever fear in their whole life because they're too scared to do it, and yet you did it. So that's great, you know? And now what you can do is you can actually use productive techniques to resolve that anxiety, and then you can kill it next time. Which brings me to 7, you can use EFT tapping to overcome your public speaking anxiety completely. Now, all that I've just shared with you are just logical perspectives, empowered insights, that's all logic. And likely it's soothed your anxiety a bit. But if you want to actually overcome it, you need to get rid of this perception of threat. As long as your brain is perceiving a threat when you go public speaking, that anxiety response will always be there. And a lot of people will tell you, well, it's something that you can never overcome. Just go do public speaking all the time, and slowly but surely you'll learn to manage the anxiety and still perform anyway. And yes, that's true. And it's also true that with tapping, you can overcome it completely because you can target that perception of threat, which is governed by beliefs like, I'm not good enough, they won't like me, I'm going to fail. And you can use that tapping to neutralize these limiting beliefs and to dissolve the negative emotions associated with public speaking. And by then going public speaking, after you've done the tapping and then using the tapping on whatever is left, you eventually can get to a point where you feel totally relaxed, calm, at ease, as if you're talking to a friend. Now, I don't particularly specialize in public speaking anxiety, but I specialize in helping people overcome social anxiety disorder. And some people indeed in there also are dealing with public speaking anxiety, and that can be completely overcome. Now, if you want to learn the 7 secrets to social confidence, I teach that in my free mini course that you can get at bit.ly/social confidence now. That is bit.ly/social confidence now. Now, in closing, I just want to say to you that you want to be compassionate with yourself. That is very, very important, because if you beat yourself up and you judge yourself for this, then it's just going to deplete your self-esteem. You're going to worry about it more, about the upcoming time that you're going to do it, and it's just going to get worse and worse. Whereas when you have self-compassion, that's actually going to repair some of that self-esteem, and that's what you're after. Now, to learn more about how to do that, check out this video, and I'll see you there. Bye for now.